Good evening and salutations, my GH fans. So, the brown dog, right? You got Tracy, and you got Lulu, and she's just feeling kind of down about Drew taking the house and Ronnie selling it, and she's blaming herself for driving Ronnie to do it, right? Drew, Marty come in, and I'm gonna be honest, Drew acts like he's in high school. He's acting like that mean bully, right? Throwing it in her face. Marty didn't really sit there and say too much because Lulu was there, and there's a point where Marty has to practically kind of like drag him away to go like sit down and stuff. So while they're sitting down, they're just kind of just smiling and laughing at Tracy's misery because they both can't stand her for different reasons, right? And at some point, Jason comes with Britt because you would sit there and think that it's enough for Drew just to sit back and just kind of just chill out and just relax and stuff like that and just kind of watch her misery. No, it's not enough. So he gets back in her face again. And he starts pretty much saying that he's going to take all the furniture, he's going to throw it away, he's going to burn it, he's going to burn Edward's chair and all the other stuff. And it's just bad at this point. And Jason sees it, and he kicks the cane away from Drew, and Drew just falls on his ass, and everybody's in there looking, and Tracy's laughing, and I'm laughing. And he pretty much kind of just kicks him out at that point. And so, Tracy thanks him for that, but at the same time, she's like, this is partly your fault. You welcomed Ronnie with open arms, and you could have helped, and you weren't there. And later on, Jason is not there blaming himself, like, well, Britt was like, why didn't you not say anything? And he was like, well, she was right. I'm like, how was she right? What was Jason actually going to do to sit there and stop that sale? Now he says that he decided not to do anything because this is what Monica would have wanted. Monica asked, it was in Monica's will, and he wanted to sit there and honor her wishes. And hell, even if he did want to honor her wishes, there was really nothing he could have did about that. So I don't really understand. And plus, she's not there blaming herself for it. So why are you sitting there blaming Jason for that? I didn't get that. Now before then, um, Britt is just having just a shitty day and sees Jason and is like, let me guess, I didn't get the car and stuff like that. On top of the fact that she was in scrubs because a kid puked on her. And, Jason surprised her and made her smile by showing her the keys. But he was like, yeah, you're not. He was like, you're not driving. So, he drove her down there and, that's when they saw Drew picking on Tracy at this point, which is just like, I mean, I swear it's like they write the character to find new ways to piss off the viewers. I swear, because it was already bad enough he did it once. It was almost like somebody in the writing team was like, we're getting a lot of slack or whatever. And a lot of people online is hating Drew, and so I think this would be good. And then it was almost like somebody was like, well, what if he goes back into her and he starts doing it again? Yes, that's a perfect idea. I swear. I feel like that's how the these staff meetings go. But you know, so that happened. Now Tracy gets back to Lulu's house, and this is when Charlotte and Rocco put all the boxes there, and I was kind of surprised that they were even able to fit in the house. But they're going through old stuff or whatever, and Tracy gets emotional. Um, and she decides to sit there, and Lulu's like, "All right, let's just rest. We'll unpack it tomorrow, whatever." And then towards the end, in one of the boxes, there's Monica's will. Let's see something. Yeah, it's Monica's will from the law office of Howard and Wentworth. Um, I don't exactly remember what Alexis said or how it got transferred from one law office to the other, but yeah, it's in a box. So at some point, when they're going through stuff and taking stuff out, I imagine they're going to wind up seeing it. Now, while that's going on, oh yeah, yeah. So at the Metro Court, you have Justine and Jordan, and you have Laura and Sunny. And Justine's they're trying to get a good read on Sunny and asks her expertise on Sunny, and she's just like, he's smart and he has a lot of powerful friends. He does a lot of good for the community, so people tend to not just like him, but that means if they look the other way, they look the other way. And of course, Justine is not there looking at Laura like, oh, you're like one of those powerful friends, and that they're helping him out. Now, Laura's just not there, just updating Sunny on Drew's activity, bullying Rocco and Danny and everything like that, and just really brazing for a fight. You know, and at some point, Sunny steps away, and I guess texts Justine, and Laura comes over, and Laura's like, so just kind of curious, what's your progress on the whole Sitwell undercover stuff? And she's like, yeah, nothing's really changed. I've been kind of, you know, um, she says she's been kind of distracted by her personal life and it's kind of blowing up. And I'm just like, wait, bro, you've been undercover for about what, a little over 3 months, give or take, and you're telling me you don't have anything. And when you explain why, you say because of my personal life and it is imploding. What the it's funny too because even before, even before Laura got there and Justine was not there talking to her, I was like, yeah, does Justine even know about your undercover activities? So when Laura comes over there and Laura's like, so how's it going? She's like, oh, nothing yet. What are you doing? Oh yeah, you're too busy sitting there fantasizing about Curtis and having life with Curtis, and both of y'all sitting there talking about Portia's pregnancy and how Curtis is gonna react and stuff like that. It's be Christmas by this time. I guess you know if I remember, I'll sit there and say, hey, remember that time where I was sitting there asking about Jordan and her undercover work? I mean, what do they think? Does the writers just like? I mean, the writers just think that the audience doesn't care about that? Like, did she forget? I mean, hell, honestly, tell you the truth, it would have been much more better if she would have sat there and decided, you know what, I don't feel like doing that. I like the money or whatever. I'm just gonna stick with that. I would have much appreciated that than that undercover stuff. Who knows? I mean, I'll get to it when I get to it. It's like, really? Um, Now, Justine is not there talking to Sonny, and Sonny apologizes for, just how he's been handling the whole Michael situation with the DA and stuff like that, saying that he kind of overstepped, but, that's his son. He's going to do what he can to sit there and, be protective of him, even if it does come across as crossing the line or being a little overboard. But he says he wants to make it up to her. Now, Justine is like, listen, I'm a public official, so I can't sit there and be taking gifts. But I do really love that pizza that you made that time that I came over there. So, if you can make that, you can make some dinner or whatever. It's like, wait. Let me get this straight. So you're on the no. I can't sit there and take gifts. But I mean, if you cook dinner for me, that'd be okay. I can let that slide. What in universe are we? And of course, he's like, yeah, that's fine. And she's like, oh well, I don't want to be seen at your house. Oh, okay. So the DA doesn't want to be seen at the mobster's house. So y'all can go to the Metro Court or y'all can go to whatever restaurant, just as long as it's not his house. I guess that would make it look better, right? This is where we're at this point. This is where we're at this point. Now I know she was like, you talked about how Dante got close before you got shot. And, she talks about how Sonny's very arrogant and he's used to just getting his way. And, he'll slip up. And she thinks that she's the person to make him slip up. So you agree to sit there and go out to dinner with him. DA. Yep. You're going to get him. Wow. Um, Now Cody calls over Molly to sit there and try to help with this whole Drew situation as far as Ronnie selling the place and Drew getting it, and she's like, there's not really much she can do. But when he talks about how he's going to leave, he's going to, probably just have to move out. He's going to go on a stunt circuit or whatever. She's like, well, it's probably a bad idea because, you're kind of old and, you don't really got, what it takes to sit there and be doing that stuff or whatever. And she just doesn't want him to leave. And so she does sit there and say, well, I'll look into it and see what we can do. As they're about to kiss, Drew rings the doorbell. Drew's at the door. And he's like, well, what are you doing here? And Drew's like, this is my house. I don't need to sit there and tell you anything. And, he pretty much kind of throws her in her face. And, Molly's like, well, you don't really have it just yet. And, of course, Drew, once again, is like, hey, listen, if you want to sit there and see my daughter, you want to spend time with my daughter, you better sit there and practically not talk to me a certain way. I'm like, wow, you're just continually showing that you are a scumbag. And then he decides to turn away from them and start monologuing how, oh, well, they kicked me out the house. Now I'm going to sit there and kick them out the house. And I'm going to have everything that they have. And it was like, they're still right there, right? What are you trying to do this whole supervillain thing going on? Like, why did you even do that for? I didn't even understand that. Now Curtis approaches Portia and he's like, so you pregnant? Portia decides to sit there and give him a roundabout answer after practically talking about, so where'd you find this out? Did Jordan tell you? When did Jordan tell you? Where did she tell you it? Um, yeah, that's all good and great, but like, you might want to answer this man's question. So she says yes. She says she's known for like maybe a couple weeks or whatever, and he gets highly defensive. He's like, "You're not going to keep me out that child's life." It was like, bro, she never actually said she was. Why don't you just calm down and just wait a minute? It was like, why didn't you tell me? And she's like, listen, she's of a certain age. She wants to make sure she can carry the baby to term. And she tells him, hey, listen, we got to sit there and just kind of wait for a little bit before we tell Trina if she's going to have a sibling or not. Don't get her hopes up if things don't really work out. So he's like, okay, fine. He does this roundabout way where he's like, so, I mean, should we even be sitting there talking about divorce? And she was like, what's the difference? Baby or no baby, we still got the same problems. And, he talks about how he wants to be there, he wants to raise the child, he wants to be there in the mornings, and the nights, and the feedings, and stuff like that. I'm like, that sounds like you want to sit there and stay together. But, you've been doing everything otherwise to suggest that you don't. So she's like, listen, let's just sit there and see what happens. Yeah, that's actually about it. Yeah, I think that's actually about it. Now, if I missed anything, let me know in the comments section below. I will be doing a live stream tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. I probably won't be on as long because I do have to wake up super early in the morning. The usual, the usual really shitty time in the morning. I was trying to find a good way to describe it, but anyway, but yeah, I will be on tonight, and I'll be slightly talking about all the shows, as you know. And yeah, I'll see you on the next video.